Hey guys, for the last 2.5 hours I've been running around here trying to find dry wood and cutting it with my Mora Garberg. I saw a video on YouTube, I don't remember who it was, uh, and that person said that they compared the robust with the Garberg in cutting wood, and they said they didn't feel any difference. I knew that's not true because the robust has 13.5 degree edge angle, and the Garberg has a secondary bevel which is very steep, about 30 to 35 degrees per side. So even with the micro bevel I added on the robust, which is 5 degrees more per side, that would take it to, well, 39 degrees in total, and this would be over 60. So that just doesn't make sense. So I took a piece of softer wood. This is yellow wood, not as soft as hazel, but not the hardest of woods. And I started whittling away at it. And I have to be honest, I did not notice a difference. Sure, when you're going to get to a knot, the robust will probably do it a bit easier, but just whittling away at wood, they're both going to do an excellent job. Sometimes the Garberg will do a better job. Why? Because it has a greater edge angle. The edge, the grind behind the edge is thicker, so it'll bend out the wood. When it's dry, it'll just break it off. And I thought to myself, that's funny because I never thought about it. I knew it wasn't so for everything, but I never thought about it. However, you can control the robust much easier. And like I said, yellow wood, not the hardest of woods. And this stick, you can see it's a bit thinner. But this is dogwood. And with this, I can immediately tell you that the robust will move through it much cleaner, much easier, with less effort. You'll feel less pressure in your hand. And it's the same for the bushcraft black. Not as easy as the robust, but way easier than the Garberg. Now this is not a comparison between the knives, it's just a comparison between the edge angles, the thickness of the grind. Now of course you can cut away pieces of wood with the Garberg. It's not a blunt instrument, it's a sharp knife, and it came very sharp. Up until today I cut cardboard paper and I carved a frozen turkey. Now being the fact that that turkey was frozen, it made it a bit easier in some parts. However, I did hit bone, and I was very amazed that I did not have any real dull spots on it. It's not the hardest of things to cut up a turkey. I'm sure if you would hit harder bones, larger bones, you might get dull spots, but in my case it didn't happen, which made me very happy. I saw the use in this secondary bevel for somebody who would use this knife as a hunting knife or as a general camping knife, let's call it. Now, a lot of people commented on my first impressions video about my choice to round off the pommel, and they said that they preferred a sharp pommel because you could strike a ferro rod or scrape wood or bark. I argued that you have this 90-degree spine which can strike a ferro rod very well, and it can scrape wood just as easily, saving your edge, and it'll give you this really fine shavings, much finer than you can cut with any knife, and those will take a spark immediately. As for striking a ferro rod, this spine can strike a ferro rod very well. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's stainless steel or carbon steel, it only matters that it's sharp. A 90-degree spine will strike a ferro rod very well. It'll strike a ferro rod better than my robust, which I've sharpened myself, because I didn't do a very good job. I just wanted to get sparks in a pinch. The bushcraft black will do the same thing. but I found that the Garberg does it best. I didn't start a fire with it, saw no reason for it. I wanted to cut as much wood as possible. Now if I were to strike a ferro rod with the pommel, if it was sharp, I would have a difficult time doing this. I would keep hitting the butt of the handle on the wood, and doing this in the air, I don't find that very safe. Some people argue that it'll help you scraping off wood. Yes, you can. Even with this one that's rounded, you can scrape wood, but not as well as you can do it with a spine, not as quickly, not in the safest of positions. And somebody said that for bark it could work because you could just draw it. Yes, however, well, I don't have much use for it. I would rather that the pommel does not chew up my safety strap. Now, I carry this in the multi-mount system on the strap of my backpack, and when I got here, I noticed that the safety strap was to the side. I probably brushed up against something and it just moved the safety strap. So that is a possibility. Beware of that. However, you would have to shake this knife pretty hard so that it will come out of the sheath. It can be done. There you go. But that's going to be a hell of a fall. So I don't think that's going to happen very time soon. I find these stainless steel knives are very practical for conditions like this because I can just put this in the sheath even if it's full of snow or dirt, and it will not rust. That's the advantage that stainless steel gives you. And so far this 14C 28N was okay. I can't even feel any dents from the ferro rod on the spine. So, and the same with the 12C27 on my Eldris that I just presented you. Now, the biggest surprise concerning the Garberg came when I tried to hold this with my gloves, with my fleece gloves, not working gloves, fleece gloves, which will not give you any extra grip. They don't have leather patches on them or anything. And I thought that it won't be as comfortable as the Eldris grip-wise, that this one will give me a much better grip. And it does. It gives you an excellent grip. And these rubberized handles really help out with that. However, in working with a glove, with the Robust and the Garberg, I found that the Garberg has the best grip. And it is because of the shape. It is flat on this side with this texture and contoured. So this guard, this small guard here, kept my hand in the safest of positions. I did not want to choke up on the knife, even though it has this part that I said I didn't like because it's not sharpened. I did not want to choke up. I wanted to stay like this with my hand. I liked that. That was a surprise to me. I did not expect that. With the Robust, I sometimes will choke up. And it might be not unnecessary from the point of where the blade is, but it just feels better in hand. Now the Companion has a better handle. This swell is smaller right here, and that's a bit more comfortable. But this was the biggest surprise for me, the handle. I don't feel the need for rubberized parts. The Eldris, it works for that one. But this one, I'm really happy that it's just steel and plastic. Now I baton with it a bit. You'll see some small cuts from what I baton with it. It splits wood very well, just as well as the others. 3.2 millimeter thick spine. For cross grain batoning, this shape of a knife is not the best because you will hit. You will probably hit the handle, or you will touch the wood with the pommel before the knife went through. And I do cross grain batoning just to check if the blade has any flaws in it. If it'll break, it's better if it breaks from the get-go. At least that's what I think. So it did that. It held up. I did not expect it to break. Did an excellent job with everything, although shock is more significant when it comes to these plastic handles than the rubberized handles. So in terms of comfort, I would place between the 3.2 millimeter thick spined Moras, I would place the Robust on third place, the Bushcraft Black on third place, the Robust on second, and the Garberg first. Much more comfortable than I imagined. I don't feel it lacking grip with or without a glove, and that was a pleasant thing, at least for me. Now, I did put some thought into modifying the edge angle, turning this into a 0-degree Scandi, simply because if you're dealing with harder woods and you're cutting wood shavings, larger edge angles sometimes will slip more. The nice part about that is that they will help you cut thinner wood shavings because they don't want to bite in, they don't want to overbite inside the wood. Smaller edge angles will give you a better bite and will cut thicker shavings, so you have to control them more if you want thin shavings. But they will also add less pressure in your hand. So it's much easier for me to do this with the Robust than it is with the Garberg. Here, I'm adding much more pressure so the knife does not slip. Now this one does have the weight, so it can help you out in certain cases when you want to chop off something, much more than the Robust, simply because of the weight. If you work on corners, both will give you a good performance. But once again, I think you can see I can get a much better bite with a smaller edge and a thinner grind. Overall, I think this is a great knife. Really, no complaints except for the price, and I'm being critical of it because of the price. But I will probably keep it with this edge angle, try to work with it as much as possible, see what kind of damage the edge will take on long term. I will not maintain the edge, will not strop it, and see where it gets me. After that, I'm probably going to modify it, and it's just because I want more performance. Now, I also mentioned the tip, and I like to also stick with that first impression. This is not a bushcraft tip. I mean, if you want to make a hole in a piece of wood, of course you can do it, but it feels a bit less controlled than with something like this, where immediately you get deeper penetration, so you don't have to worry so much that the knife will jump out and you stab something or just hit your hand on a piece of wood. Now, the Eldris, and I think also the Cansbull, I'm not familiar with that one, have this grind to it. And if you're going to look at the Eldris, you will see that the tip shape is basically the same. But this will give you a bit more control because it's a shorter blade. Your hand is near to where you work, less chance of you slipping and hitting something. Plus, it has this extra, well, this metal that was removed from here, less metal behind the tip, the cutting edge, so it'll make an easier job out of you making this this hole. I do not wish to do the same for the Garberg to improve its performance in digging wood, digging into wood. I don't think that's such an important feature, but this is not a bushcraft knife. This is more adequate. It's called the Bushcraft Black for a reason. However, this is the only Mora that gave me blisters. If you watch my video of it, you'll know what happened. It was a hot day. I worked with it for hours and hours, and it gave me a blister. So, if I were to recommend Moras, because a lot of people ask me, what would you recommend? What would you recommend? Between the 3.2 millimeter thick Moras, the Robust would be my first recommendation. You can't beat it for the price, $15, and you get a lot of knife for that. You won't be able to chop with it, but it's a Mora. It's not supposed to chop. This one has that advantage of weight and that it can do certain chopping tasks. But for everything else, I recommend this. You will have to modify the spine if you want to strike a ferrod, but that's a small price to pay for the knife and in time for modifying the spine. I would then recommend the Garberg. I would not recommend the Bushcraft Black. It's a cool looking knife, yes, but between these three knives, I would just I would stick with the Robust. And yes, if you like the coolness of it and the fact that it has a stainless steel blade, go for it. Otherwise, I would just for somebody who just wants a working knife, you can find this in the OD green handle, and it's called Heavy Duty Companion. You can find this in the orange, safety orange handle, or this gray color with the sheath matching the handle. If that matters to you, this is a great working knife for 15 bucks. I have to admit, this is a cool one. I got it as a gift, and I am as happy as can be. Still see myself working a lot with this knife, and if something changes, I'll let you know. After I modify it, if I see that it does not hold an edge, that it behaves in any way different than I expected or that I said in this video, I'm gonna get back to you and make another video. So far, for me, very happy, except for the price. I would still not pay $80 for this knife. But that's just me. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or suggestions, comments, just post them in the comment section and I'll get to them. I'd like to thank you for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.